You know, normally I would never be standing this close to a law enforcement official. Unless, of course, I was in the back seat. Nobody got that? But really. Oh. So, well, at the risk of sounding redundant to some of those in the room, I'll say that my name is Patrick Kemper, and I've been called a lot of other things. I've been called a punk, a pothead. I've been called a gutter punk. I've been called a street kid. I've been called a traveling kid. I've been called a bum. I've been called a home bum. I've been called a drunk, and I've been called a junkie. Today I come here and I stand before you as a person in long-term recovery. And what that means is that I haven't had a drug or a drink since June 7th, 2009. Let me see those 6th grade hands again. So what are you guys, like 11, 12? When I was 12 years old, I smoked my first cigarette. I've been pretending to smoke for a couple of years because, you know, it made me look cool and older and mature and awesome. But when I was 12 years old, my friend, my neighborhood friend, he taught me how to inhale. And that was a game changer. Because then I got that feeling that, oh, you know, like when you're a little kid and you spin around in a circle and then you fall over and your head's all bubbly and you can't see straight. Just like that. And I was attracted to that, even though it made me really nauseous, which is strange. That I would enjoy something that I didn't really feel good about. Shortly after that, he and I got drunk together for the first time. And as I've said before, I don't really remember what happened that night. I know that I know that I damaged some property, and went home the next morning about dawn before my mom had woken up to go to work. Soon after that, I'd say probably within a year, I was looking to smoke weed just about every day. Smoking weed was no big deal for me because I'd already learned how to smoke cigarettes. I knew how to inhale smoke. It's no big deal. I could handle that. Of course, in doing all of that, I put all of my priority into doing those things, into using. You know, and the question, why does somebody go to drugs? Why would that even be attractive? Why would I smoke if it made me nauseous? Why would I drink if it makes me forget? Why would I do that? It's not a question. It's rhetorical. If you don't know what rhetorical means, ask your teachers, they will tell you. The reason that I'm attracted to those things, the reason that I'm still attracted, when we see these pictures of needles and heroin, they make me uncomfortable. They make me uncomfortable because I'm still attracted to that. Because even though I know that it nearly killed me, it's killed countless of my friends. It got me in legal trouble. It continues to take lives. Why would that still be attractive? And the answer to that question is because it makes me feel safe. In a world where I am otherwise powerless and afraid and uncomfortable, I can put a drug in my body and not care about any of that. Makes it just not matter. I don't care about my friends. I don't care about my family. I don't care about a job. I don't care about the clothes I'm wearing. I don't care about personal hygiene. I don't care about health risks. Certainly don't care if I live or die. It just shuts all of that off. Why would I do that for so long? After going through those first couple of years using cigarettes, alcohol, and marijuana, I got myself into enough trouble that the school board noticed, and they took me out of my mother's home. I was in a single family home. My father died when I was really young, and I was still pretty pissed off about that. I was put in a foster home in Oregon, Wisconsin, where I was forced to go to school every day, and I did the work that I was assigned, and I did really well. That was me in 8th grade. Pretty handsome guy. I did really good there because I did what was expected of me, but I did it only because I was willing to jump through the hoops. I felt like I had the leg up because I thought I was manipulating that situation, that I was somehow in charge. And on the weekends, I would go home to my mom's house and I would use whatever I could use. Eventually, I was able to go and live back at home when I started 9th grade, and I was just right back into it. It's like I was using as much as possible. And again, because I became really uncomfortable, really afraid, I entered a really big high school where I wasn't comfortable, I was frightened, and my way to escape that uncomfortable feeling was to use. That's what I knew. Well, I didn't last very long in that school. I opted to transfer into Shabazz City High School, which is kind of like an alternative school that I thought would be totally cool with me smoking weed every day. Well, they weren't that cool about it, and they kicked me out when they found out that I'd skipped class to go get high. So I had to go back to the big school that I didn't like. I didn't earn any credit in 9th grade. I knew that. But that didn't stop me from trying to convince the 10th grade principal at West High School that I did. And I tried to con my way into 10th grade. Being an addict, using drugs, teaches you better ways of lying, better ways of manipulating. And you think you're really good at it, and sometimes you may be off. I wasn't that good that day. He saw through it. And I was given the option to go to night school, which was even less accountability. And I was all for that. And I wasted about 2 years of my life going to night school, 4 nights a week, 2 hours. Sure. It didn't really cut into my drinking and smoking very much. I was able to go to school and get out before the liquor stores closed. I'd run downtown, convince some homeless person to go to the liquor store for me. And I'd, party, yeah. Meanwhile, all the friends that I'd known, leading up to that, were graduating high school and starting jobs and, doing productive things with their lives. Well, it wasn't long before I committed my first felony, and it was totally using based. I was busted trying to walk out of a bar with a case of beer, and because there was apartments above the bar, it was considered a residential basement. So it was deemed felony burglary. And I was given a light sentence, 2 years probation. And while on probation, I was not, I was still doing what I wanted to do, and I was locked up again in a drug treatment thing at a prison. I was put in a prison for 5 months to do a treatment program. And even then, it didn't matter. I got out and started just staying with friends, got some menial jobs, working in kitchens. I looked for jobs specifically that would cater to my way of life, where I had no accountability, where I could come in basically wasted or hungover and nobody would question. In fact, I would often go out with people I worked with. Well, it wasn't long before my surroundings sort of caught up with me, and I ended up I tried heroin for the first time, based in some really incredibly silly logic that I didn't like that my friends did it, so I was going to do it so that I would know why they did it. That's some addict logic for you. Well, that didn't turn out really well, ultimately. After doing it and finding that feeling once again, that safe feeling, that where nothing matters feeling, I never could stop. I convinced myself once that I thought I could stop. I used for about 3 months, and then I went and I started hitchhiking across the country. And I was in South Dakota. I went to Sturgis, South Dakota for the big motorcycle rally. And I thought that would be fun, big party. I don't own a motorcycle. I never owned a motorcycle. But I thought it would be a fun party, so I went. And I met a fellow there named Brandon Nichols, and he was a really cool guy. And it was funny how we met because he was just one of those really outgoing personality types. You know, he came up and was like, hey man, how you doing? And I was like, oh, whatever. You know, you're weird, but that's okay. And he was nice. And I told him where I was from, and he's like, oh yeah, I have a friend who was just living there. His name is so-and-so, and he's got this girl and a dog, and yeah, he's really awesome. Maybe you know him. And what I knew, what he didn't know, is that that fellow was dead. He had died in a bus rollover. His wife was driving the bus. She was under the influence, I think, of marijuana. Whole bus full of people, and the dog, died, with the exception of the woman driving. And I can't even imagine how she feels. Well, maybe I can a little bit. I'll get to that. So I had this connection with Brandon, and we became fast friends. And then I talked to some people about a ride back to Madison. And then I decided at the last minute that I didn't want to drive in his, piece of junk car, because I had a warrant in Madison, in Wisconsin, and I knew that if we got pulled over in his junky car, that I would go to jail. So I was afraid of that. So I responded to that fear by lying to him and saying, you know what, no, I think I changed my mind. I think I'd just rather fly. I didn't know that he had put his heart into this trip. He was looking forward to it for his own escapism reasons. And so that night we just kind of partied at the house we were at. And then that night, while I was passed out on the floor, he tried to drive home to his mother's. The next day, I went up the road to a place where he worked to go see if he was around, because I felt bad. Of course I felt bad. I lied to my friend. And I found out from another guy that he had died. He rolled his car, much like the other people did in the bus, because he was driving drunk. And I completely internalized that. I made it all about me. It was my fault. If I hadn't made the decision to lie to him and to make this excuse because of my silly warrant, Brandon Nichols would still be alive. So when I felt that pain, that responsibility, I knew exactly what I wanted to do. It was instantaneous. No other substance was going to quell my thirst, as some might say. I wanted to get high, and I couldn't get home fast enough to do it. I wanted some dope. There were a lot of names for heroin up there. Well, I always called it dope. And as soon as I got back, that's what I did. That's what I did for the next 8.5 years. Well, that's not entirely true. In 2005, I was coming back to Madison again, after traveling again, and decided I was going to quit using heroin and just go back to partying, drinking, smoking weed, have some fun again. That was right about this time. That's me and my dog Buddy, who is amazingly still alive. He's very old though. We were under this bridge here. This is the Highway 30 bridge in Madison. We were under that bridge celebrating the life of a friend who had died of a heroin overdose. You can't see it because I cropped the picture, but right next to me is my friend Tim, who is also now dead of a heroin overdose. I stayed under that bridge for about 2 months until it became too cold. And I thought, well, I'll give up the dope, just do the other things, it'll be fine. But I kept using, just like I did when I was on heroin. I drank every single day for 4.5 years. In 2008, in October 2008, I reconnected with one of my oldest childhood friends. His name was Mike. And he was like my little brother. We grew up together, and I really enjoyed having him as like a little brother, because I didn't have a little brother. I wanted someone that I could teach and show things and help out, be there for. But I was there in all the wrong ways. I was there I taught him how to smoke weed. And I taught him how to shoot heroin. And in October of 2008, while I was walking my dog, while he was very sad because his girlfriend had broken up with him, he did his last shot of heroin. When I came in from walking my dog and I saw him sitting in front of the computer, I knew exactly what was going on. I didn't want to believe it at first, but I knew. And I kicked the chair, and because it was on wheels, it just fell right out from under him. And he toppled to the ground, and I saw his face. Nothing I can ever do will bring back my friend. But what I can do is I can try to live in his stead. Where he succeeded in death, where I could not, I will try to succeed in life where he can't. I didn't just quit using after that. I wasn't like, oh, I gotta stop all this. This is crazy. No, I kept using for another 7 months. Like really, really hard. Because again, it was all my fault. If I'd only come right back, if I hadn't walked so far and then come back, maybe I could have saved him. Eventually, I was sitting on the street in Madison, and I was drinking cheap vodka, and I was looking at my life, and it suddenly occurred to me that it was unacceptable. And not like, oh, I'm gonna stop now, but it was like, I don't wanna do this anymore. I can no longer manipulate my thinking to say that like, oh, using is somehow a positive in my life. It makes me feel better about my situation. It doesn't. It just compounds everything and makes everything worse. I had lost connections with my family, my friends, those who are still alive, and myself. I didn't even know who I was anymore. In fact, I think I was clean for like 2 years before I decided that I liked Kelly Clarkson. Who knew? She's got an amazing voice. So does my friend Byron here. Hopefully he'll be sharing that with you. After giving up on addiction, I was shown how to take an interest in my life, be an active participant in my life, and that is constantly changing. And the reason that I'm still clean is because I'm learning to accept that it's okay to be uncomfortable. It's okay to be afraid. It's okay to feel weird and awkward. I mean, this is not an exclusive thing to high school and middle school kids. Sorry. You're gonna continue to feel weird and awkward and uncomfortable and afraid. But it's okay, because everybody is. And if they say they're not, then they're either high or they're lying. So I'll leave you with this. When life gives you the opportunity to run away, just don't. It wasn't a lie. I don't like coming up here. I'm not comfortable like taking this mic and talking to all of you. I'm terrified, I'm shaking, my heart is beating in my chest like it's gonna jump out of me. But if I just take a deep breath and say my name, it alleviates it a little bit. And I can continue to move through this moment, feeling a little uncomfortable, but knowing that it's okay. So be safe. Thanks.